Yes. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining Roanhorse Consulting in our launch of Center Native. And we are going to go ahead and turn this mic over to Olivia Roanhorse, who is the COO of RCLC, and she will kick us off with introductions.
Thanks, Shauna. Welcome, everybody. We're so excited you're here. And I see a lot of folks I haven't seen in a while, so it's kind of exciting. We've been spending time organizing ourselves and putting this together with Shauna's coordination and super help. So just want to welcome you all for spending time from all the things you're probably working on to learn about what we've created so far and think about how you continue to help us grow it or make it meaningful to the Native communities we're hoping it serves. Okay, let's go to the next slide. We wanted to start with, and this is really helpful for us to lay the foundation of who we are at Roanhorse Consulting. We are an Indigenous women-owned consulting firm that works to center our lived and personal experiences. As Diné women, we have since expanded our team to include our Pueblo relatives, and we continue to learn with and from our partners locally and across Turtle Island. What we're showing you here, these are worldviews shared by many Indigenous people, and these are shared from Leanne Simpson, who's Nichi-Sagig Nishinabeg scholar, writer, and artist, and is a member of the Alderville First Nations in the north of Canada. And we share this because we appreciate this grounding of worldviews as part of our learning and values. We are not saying that we are one culture or language or monolith in any way, but rather we are connected by some of these shared worldviews that are often rarely part of the Western Eurocentric worldview. And we do center these in the work internally with our team, but also externally with our partners and clients in the communities we're fortunate to work with. Okay, next slide. So a little bit about Roanhorse Consulting. Let's see. Oh, I need to move my slide. Huh. Sorry, mine's not moving. Okay. So in all of our projects, those funded by clients and those we fund on our own when we identify gaps in the system and in the communities, which Center Native is really part of, this is what guides us. We seek to center Native American wisdom by co-creating with Indigenous leaders and practitioners to grow our community and Native leaders. We are interested in investing in long-term capacity and infrastructure that is led by Indigenous people. So this is something we really center and focus in all the work we do. Our purpose statement is also, and it's not there, but I want to share it with you, is unapologetically, we're co-creating vibrant Indigenous communities through a transformative approach to health and wealth. Okay, next slide. So this is the Roanhorse Consulting project team that worked on Center Native. It's not our entire team, but these are the folks who really shaped and highlighted the work that we're presenting you today. Each of these folks have been central to growing it from an initial grassroots idea to what it is today and hopefully what it could be in the future. So I just want to honor those who are in this space today with us, and you'll see them because we have that cool background behind us. So please, if you don't know any of the team members, please feel free to reach out to any of them. I'm not sure we want to do any more introductions with this one. Is that good enough, team, or do we want to do a more maybe deeper introduction for each person? I'm open to either.
Keep pushing forward.
I like it. I like it. Okay. So moving forward. So how did we get here? Well, beloved or unbeloved, however you want to look at social media, it does have its place. And during the pandemic, I know some of us or a lot of us felt like those who weren't on the front line really risking and sharing and working with our relatives, we tried to figure out what else can we do. And I started to recognize that there were a number of groups popping up who were shifting and serving their community in ways that I really admired and really wanted to support. So I just started a Facebook post and asked folks, here's who I know is out there doing work to center and uplift nonprofits, mutual groups, COVID type mutual aid funds, and wanted to know who else was probably doing this work, but just didn't have the time to uplift or communicate it in the way that I wanted to know about it. And so it really started with this post. And it was such a wonderful thing to hear from everybody and to get the feedback of who was doing what, how they could support each other. And also that feeling of that we all live in communities and the communities were supporting each other and other families. So that was just a wonderful, during a very difficult time, a wonderful way to kind of shift the lens away from the fact that the state and the feds and even the county level were struggling to organize in themselves in the best way possible, and that we knew our neighbors and community members could do that. So this was a different way, and I don't know how many of you guys do this on social media. Maybe we do this all the time, as a way to collect information, crowdsourcing from actual like day-to-day type of data collection, but it's still data. And it was important points for us to understand what was out there and what was happening. We also used this platform to look for other, like if there were gaps, for example, a lot of the nonprofits and mutual aids needed help with grant writing to ensure they were getting access to funds that they needed. And so we created a collective grant writing group to say, hey, you have any experience in grant writing and you want to volunteer and donate your time to support any of these Native-led organizations or groups. That was one thing that came out of this among all the other many things. And it was just a collective group of people who wanted to stay connected and wanted to understand what was happening. So that was a really important one small piece that came out of this. The other piece is we were able to partner with funders and those on the ground who really wanted to shift and support our Native communities, but didn't quite know what to do or how to do it and how to shift some of that funding. Some of the mutual aids that were and grassroots that were popping up didn't have a 501c3 or status. Maybe we're just figuring out fiscal sponsorship. So like, how can we best support them knowing they are using the funds in a way that is supporting community? So that was a big eye opener for us. And we were able to partner with some local funders here in New Mexico, as well as New Mexico First, which was the first group that brought us in to hear what legislature and other nonprofits and the state were doing collectively together. And we became part of that group and shared some of this collective work we were doing in understanding where Native communities were. So the history of this is it really just started with what can we do to help? How can we help? We weren't needing or interested in ensuring we had funding for this. We just knew it was important. And when people started to gravitate toward it and ask more questions, we recognized this, we had something that needed to be done. And collectively, I think each of us here in New Mexico or in Navajo could sit down and write out who are the Native-led nonprofits, mutual aids and organizations, because we just know. But we never had one map or one list or one place where all of this was. And so that became another reason we thought we know this information is collectively held in different spaces. Why don't we organize it so we can make sure we're all aware of each other and uplift those parts of the work? So that's a little bit of the introduction. I'd like to invite Vanessa to share a little bit more because she supported me in sending out this Facebook post and doing the work to organize what we could on the back end for this whole structure to even be created.
Sure thing. Thanks, Olivia. It was just like, I just remember we were getting more questions than we had answers for. Was like something that was really important for us to be able to respond to. And then the other was as our tribal governments, our state governments, and larger healthcare entities were still trying to get their bearings. This process of identifying resources that community-led organizations, mutual aid groups, and then just community leaders, a lot of just individuals who had just decided to raise their hand and said, I can take X and drive it to Y. There needed to be some kind of support system for them. So when Olivia posted this question on Facebook and we saw the response, part of what I've always thought was important about the work that we get to do at Roanhorse Consulting is we get to say, like, as a team, this is important. And as a team, that's what we decided to do. And so as all this information was being collected, we needed to create a database. We needed to put some kind of website up. And so we started that process. We just were like, you know what, we don't know how this is all going to work. But thankfully, with the support of New Mexico First and some of the First In funders, we were able to get some resources to actually invest in some of that back-end infrastructure. And as we were kind of having these conversations, there was a number of other things that were coming to light, which was that, like, we have all these Native-led grassroots organizations. They're doing all of this incredible work. They're figuring out their fiscal sponsorship. A lot of the nonprofits actually mission drifted to serve their communities from what their original missions were. And so we just kept thinking, how do we keep driving the flow of resources to these organizations to do that deep work? But there was another opportunity that Olivia raised, which was, but how do we help these institutions know who they should be working directly with? How do we spread that partnership and that relationship opportunity beyond just the obvious suspects, or not suspects, the usual candidates, the usual organizations we turn to? And I think that was another aha moment about the need for some kind of database and a need for people to source one another. Was we wanted community members to source each other, but we also wanted institutions and funders to sort of not have to go through the question of, like, well, I don't know where to start, so I'm going to start with where I normally start, but to have a place where they could say, look at the richness that's in our places, in our communities. Look at these organizations who've been here for so long. How do we demystify where to start? And I think that was really critical. So I just wanted to say that push for us to put a website, which, by the way, we're not website creators over here. We're not database developers. So we knew right out of the get-go, we were like, whatever happens, we're not going to be launching a new tech platform. That's not us. That's not what we do. So we were like, well, let's start with some kind of website. Let's find some really smart people to help us figure out how to do the database collection that was mindful and thoughtful. And then we'll get into more about Ecomap. But I just wanted to add, those are the few things I was going to add.
Thanks, Vanessa. Yeah, there was a lot of history there. And the other day we were like trying to figure out where it started and why we kept doing it. And one of the main things we kept talking about has to be meaningful, like meaningful from those utilizing it. So we didn't want to keep building something that wasn't going to be utilized or reviewed or shared or seen as helpful. So it's taken us a while to get to where we are based on the feedback and support of community and others who supported us. So that was really important for us. Okay, let's move to the next slide. So as we mentioned, New Mexico First was a huge critical ground partner for us. And Lily said, hi, Lily. Lily no longer works for New Mexico First, but that's where I think our friend, or at least my friendship grew. So I'm so excited that she's on today. We also got some critical ground funding to map out what we had built with the McCune Charitable Foundation. And I think I saw Henry on here, Rael. Good to see you, Henry. That was pretty important for us because everything we had been doing to that point was just off of what the time we could spare, what we could, to Vanessa's point, what we could make, knowing we're not website developers or platform builders. So that funding really helped center what was possible. Oh, there's Henry. So we created this original and we tried to make it as simple as possible database to put all the information in one place. So the original goals for this New Mexico Native-led resource map, and we said New Mexico, but we included the Navajo Nation, considering the multiple states they encounter, the first goal was to uplift Native-led groups supporting Native communities. And we wanted to make sure they were going to be further invested in, supported, and of course, celebrated. We wanted to strengthen the Native community ecosystem to help connect diverse groups for a greater impact. So just, even though we knew, like, if we could put that list down and write who all the Native-led orgs were, it doesn't necessarily mean like everyone knew outside of their region who was doing what, and if there was an opportunity to partner. So we started thinking about, like, how do we learn from each other and connect each other in a way that supports what people are doing. And then the last goal was to serve as an open, evolving resource that is community-led in design and impact. And so we grew this from all the data that was out there in the public, from the Facebook posts that people were sharing about who was doing what and where. We got the seed funding from McKeown Foundation, as well as St. Vincent and Curum and New Mexico Foundation to launch this site. It's still found on our website right now as we adjust to this new platform. And then I'd love to turn it over to Casey Long, who's been really helpful in continuing, because we kind of took a break from that original time we created it, and then to go back and look at, like, what do we want to build on and grow. So I'll turn it over to Casey.
Thanks, O, and hello, everyone. So I want to say it was a pretty interesting time for the New Mexico Native-led org map. At the time, we also had Jennifer Lujan, who was working on the site too. And so she was working both with Olivia and Vanessa to really get the New Mexico-led org map on. And so kind of wanted to give her a little shout out, and also just remember the work that she did in developing, the site initially. And so some of the work that she started and kind of moving into some of the work that I continue to build was just to reach out to multiple organizations out there in New Mexico and really get a sense of how they may or may not have utilized the site, and beginning to ask them questions in terms of just the site alone, if it resonates with them. But then also asking them, like, what is their relationship with philanthropy? How could they have a better relationship with philanthropy? And just multiple conversations with a couple of organizations to see really the potential in which the site could move. And then we internally started to have a little bit more of a conversation on data governance and data stewardships. And, because of Roanhorse Consulting and where we sit with this, we didn't want to be the stewards of all of this data. And fast forward to, where Center Native was, we definitely wanted to develop a site that organizations could opt in or opt out of, and give them the opportunity to say, yes, like, I want to be part of this platform, but then giving them the opportunity to say what type of data they would want within their individual pages. And so that is something that we definitely want to move forward with, and continuing to the conversation on how we can develop to build out Center Native in a sense with that. And so we can go ahead and go to the next slide. And so this is one of the things that we've heard more initially in the conversation, just about the map alone. And we heard an array of things from different organizations on where they were at the time of the pandemic, and in what ways that the map could help them initially. And like Olivia mentioned, is one of the things is that we really wanted to leverage more resources within the state of New Mexico and the Navajo Nation, and philanthropists could just see really what type of work is out there and how we can do so to do that. And when we asked some of the organizations at the time, like, what is it that you want philanthropists to know? Because we were also sitting in conversations with philanthropists and being some type of community voice so that they're aware of where the community is at. And one thing that I continue to hold with me is one interviewee said at the time is that philanthropists just needs to give us time to heal from the pandemic. We just need that time because there's so much that happened there. There's so much to unpack. And we've been away from community. We've been away from organizations. And, we've been away from even our own families at the time. And so, for philanthropists just to step back and give us that flexibility to work with them and also, use the funds more appropriately. And so, it was just very diverse in how we continue to use those conversations and how we wanted to, have those conversations with philanthropists as well. Next slide, and then I'm going to pass it on over to Mateo.
Thanks, Casey. So in this logo creation, it was really great because we came together to sort of vision, what this would be. We utilized, in the branding process, we knew there was going to be a shift, and we wanted to show how we can uplift all of these organizations and also represent their connectedness and the grounding in their communities. So there are two, I think these examples here show from the left where one of the main themes here with Center Native, first of all, is the name, and that we decided to transition from, we have a lot of centers in our communities, and we shifted that because we wanted the idea to be, the action would be to center Native, which would mean to bring a lot of our communities and our ideas and thoughts and supporting each other to the middle. We also, one of the themes we worked on was the weaving idea. And I think that was really big in this creation of the brand for Center Native. As you can see on the left, we just had some initial drawings and representing other patterns and weaving together. And as you move to the middle of that graphic, you can see one of our mood boards. And I think for the team, we gravitated towards, of course, the circles. There's a graphic there of rugs that are rolled up together. And I think for us, it symbolized that each community and each place has its own fabric of their community, how it's woven together. But in the end, we're all together, and the circles are powerful. And as they rotate and the spirals go to the center, we felt like this was a good visual to show that these are all these communities together. We understand that there's movement and our connectedness. As you can see, the colors, they shifted a little bit in the mood board in the middle. And I think that was, we gravitated more towards more earth tones, colors that are not standard, say turquoise and maroon from our jewelry, or which is used out throughout our communities. So we shifted a little bit. And I think that's really, how the brand came to be in our group. We wanted to show that there's motion, connectedness, and our communities woven together, and putting the needs of the community at the center. And it was a great process. The team was incredible. And I look at it today and I think it is a really good representation, and it is a shift. I know that it's the Native-led orgs map, probably not the most exciting name. So now we have a great name, and we have some great colors, and we have a logo, and we have something that we put together collectively that represents, a place, an idea of coming together for information to uplift all of our organizations, community members, grassroots, entrepreneurs, and it's turning into a really great, evolving into a very great resource. Yeah. And if anybody else has anything to add, that would be great.
No, I think that was great. And it was important for us to create that together, to really represent what we're trying to do together. So thank you for sharing that, Mateo. Next slide.
While you're doing that, one of the things that we kept cracking up about was we kept talking about how there's Native American centers, and there's always like
Oh yeah.
Native American Indian centers, and we were like, because when we were searching for things, we kept finding like center of a Native American something, center of Native. And so I don't know, I'm sure it was Mateo at one point was like, what if it's just center Native? And dropping the of or the, surprisingly brilliant. So I just wanted to say, like, it was like always there in front of us. Okay, Olivia.
Yeah, no, that's great. It's a great reflection because we were just meeting on this again because we had done it a little while ago. So this photo is great. So we started, just creating something we thought spoke to where we were and what we knew and what we could create. And over time, it's been relevant and useful, and we've heard great feedback from different community and partners and philanthropy. So we're moving on to the next level, which is really understanding that we're collecting a lot of data. And how do we want to make sure we're collecting it in stewardship ways, not just collecting it to, share out, but publicly, and allowing people to take hold of their data so they could take ownership of what's in there, update it. And then there's all these great other places. We're like, well, what if we had, a smaller group that focused just on like Native evaluators? Or what if we had a group of consultants who really wanted to, focus on federal funding around economic development? And so we really wanted to think about the platform. So the platform that came to us maybe at a shining moment was Ecomap. And it was a time where we were trying to figure out where do we go to next based on the original platform we had used, which was very basic website building, to something that could be more meaningful and useful to the users. And so I'm pretty sure Vanessa was the one that came across Ecomap. We met with them and we loved it. And Vanessa will share a little bit about the origins of Ecomap versus like how we're using it. So the goal is to use to center Native-led organizations and those that support Native-led organizations, mutual aid nonprofits, fiscal support, however they're organized, but also to include consultants who work with Native communities who want to invest and support them. That way, on both sides, they could learn about each other and there could be a relationship built. So someone could say, I worked with Roanhorse Consulting, here's some of what I thought they were really good at providing, and anyone could go look at their profile and see they're connected to us. So you could see relationships in the map, right? So Ecomap really came up to us with like, oh, good. And then on the back end, we wouldn't have to worry about updating the back end. It wouldn't be, because that's a lot to do on the back end. They really came in and said, here's what we can provide. Here's how the support we can ensure you get so users have access to this, this, and this. So that's where I'll go. And V, you can talk a little bit about the ecosystem building.
Sure. If anyone has ever made the mistake of trying to build a platform and you're not like a coder or a UX design person, raise your hand. I've made that mistake. So I was grateful for my ecosystem, which has primarily been in entrepreneurship and economic development work. And for anyone who's been in that space, at least for me, the last 8 years, the language of ecosystem building has really found its way into entrepreneurship and to building networks and understanding that entrepreneurs live in an ecosystem, and the ecosystem to be healthy needs various activities and initiatives. But an ecosystem is also not just if you have all of those, it's not just about mapping it, it's about how do you actually create conversations within that ecosystem. For anyone who goes back before entrepreneurship kind of took ecosystem building, this is really from the environmental sector. An ecosystem actually talks about the whole thing, right? We've seen the charts where like there's a fish egg, out comes a frog, the frog grows and then gets eaten by a bird, the bird flies, I don't know, gets eaten by a hawk, the hawk maybe like goes to the bathroom somewhere and then like fertilizes a tree, and this whole ecosystem lives in this place and this story. You see these images. And so like what's fun for me about talking about ecosystem building is we started from a place of nature. We started from a place of storytelling about how the world around us works. Then we used it to focus in on the entrepreneurial system and talk about within that system, you can have an ecosystem of things, but if they don't have connection and connectivity, which actually happens organically in nature, but in humans, it doesn't happen. We have to make community. We have to create conversations to come to this point where, as we were reflecting on the pandemic and what happened to so many of our Native people, tribal nations across the country, but for us being here in New Mexico and us focusing on as well in the Navajo Nation, we were looking at this from our lens of health and wealth, which is, it's not about just resources. It's about relationships. It's about how these different groups are finding a place to come together that centers those most impacted, but also acknowledges that resources are money, connections. They are folks who are willing to deliver water. There are people who are volunteering their time to cook food for hundreds of people. They are the policymakers who are attending these like monthly and weekly meetings. They're the consultants and social enterprises on the ground who shifted their business models to provide more hand sanitizer or to go out and offer voluntary grant writing support. And most importantly, they were the people who were living in the places where they were most impacted, who didn't wait for anybody to tell them how to do this. They didn't wait for anyone to come and say, here's how you solve your problem. So I share that because we needed a platform that could lean into this conversation with us, which is it's not just about business. This is about whole person and everything they're experiencing in the world around them. And how do we foster or create some conditions in which conversations can happen and in which they can determine what community means to them. So thankfully, Pava had just launched Ecomap not too long ago. And because I'm in this connective system of conversation around entrepreneurship and ecosystem building, we were able to set up this meeting. And, you know, the first early conversations, there was definitely a bit of a, well, we've primarily focused on entrepreneurial ecosystems work in other places. And we're like, yeah, but we can expand that, right? I mean, if anything, this is our opportunity to add to the new language of Ecomap. And what was so exciting is they were like, yeah, absolutely, let's do this. And we didn't know how things like language like native serving and native led would fit into sort of the taxonomy of Ecomap, but they were open to it and they were willing to create the fields and the designs for us. So all of that story is to say, we met Ecomap back in early 2021. It's taken us time to actually get to this point for a variety of reasons, but since then have been in deep relationship creating Center Native together. And so with that, I'm going to hand it, I'm not sure if I should hand it back to you, Olivia, or if I should just say, we'd love to welcome in our guest speaker from Ecomap, our co-conspirator, Kevin Carter, to
I think Casey's
share.
gonna.
Casey's going to do it? Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I didn't go to the next slide.
It's okay.
Hi,
So-
Casey. Really quickly, I'm sorry. I have Kevin on Google Meets, but if you want to introduce him, we'll see if this will work, if we can tag him in.
Oh, should I?
Yeah, you can do his introduction.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you, V. And really thinking about where we were at with Ecomap, we are super excited to think about, just, like what could be with Center Native. And it was really great that they were able to really help us start thinking like about this whole platform in itself. And really be they really helped us in terms of like partnership and asking us our hard questions and ways that we would want to continue to develop Center Native. And that's one of the things that we look forward to, not only the partnership with the Native led and Native serving orgs on the ground, but then also this partnership with Ecomap so that we can continue to move Center Native forward. And so Kevin is the head of business development for Ecomap Technology, where he is responsible for building strategic partnership, finding market applicants, and growing revenue for the company. Ecomap centralizes information about your ecosystem into an easy to navigate online platform, creating a front door for your ecosystem that makes it easier for stakeholders to understand, engage, and promote it. And so that's just a little bit about the work that Kevin does with Ecomap. And I really want to invite him in to help us think, see Center Native.
Perfect. Casey, thank you so much for the intro. Can people hear me and see my screen?
Okay, one moment, Kevin. I am going to share my screen with the audience.
Yay. So we are like double dutying Google and Zoom. This is our.
I love it. This is innovation in action. Can people hear me? Is this good? Wow, I love technology. I think Zoom has very intense anti-Zoom bombing technology. I might have been accidentally removed, and then we've been trying for the last half hour to get me here. And I'm really happy we can, because I'm excited to show you off the Center Native platform and show some of the use cases and functionality that anyone can really do to get the most out of this platform. So again, Casey, Olivia, Vanessa, Shauna, everyone on the Roanhorse team, Native Women League team, just I'm really, really privileged to be here and appreciate you trusting us with such an important ecosystem that is so near and dear to your heart. So I will take some time to walk through the platform to be able to show again what the big utility can be out of it, because email platforms are tools, and tools are only as useful as they can be used. So what I want to do is show you how you can really find the best data around the resources, organizations, other people in this ecosystem, and then how to get more involved and engage with things that you might even be offering. So to first start off, I'll show you what it looks like here when you click on this Explore Resources tab. That's really what a lot of people will first do when they're trying to come to a platform like this. They're trying to understand what are the things that are out there for me that I can specifically utilize in order to make progress on a business, with my family, as a student, trying to find maybe scholarship opportunities, whatever it might be. That's the heart of what our platform can provide. So we will take this data that we were able to find, part of it as a starting list that the Roanhorse team has given us, and part of it using our technology to go out and scour additional relevant resources that might also be able to be layered on here, and put them all into this one easy to navigate platform. So as you can see here, we have 142 different resources that we've gathered so far, and it really ranges the whole gamut of different types. So these are the keywords, and the keywords on our platform are really the backbone, really that strong focal point that you can use to navigate through, as opposed to having to type in things and figure it out from there. So for example, if you look from left to right, these are actually ordered in terms of how prevalent they are on the platform. So if you hit funding opportunities, you'll have 35. That's everything from scholarship programs to loans to grants to maybe fellowship programs, whatever it might be. You can see maybe more specific, what are relief supplies, a lot of these that were in the original map for COVID-19 and other relief supply opportunities, scholarship opportunities, resource guides, all of that is just one quick way to narrow down. So you have, for example, let's say you wanted to find what are all the different funding opportunities, then you wanted to filter down and get even more specific, you can use these subtags here. So these additional keywords help you to get more and more narrow, where you say, I want to find funding opportunities, maybe for Native women specifically, you can see, for example, like matriarch funds that Native Women Lead offer. So that's just one way you can narrow down also by different focuses and different stages as well. Another thing you can do, let me go to the organizations tab here, is identify who are all the other folks that are doing work in this space, who are the folks that consist of this ecosystem that Center Native is promoting. So you can see, for example, who the different resource providers are. Similarly, different keywords, but different that are organizational keywords as opposed to resource keywords. So for example, narrowing down to nonprofits, maybe peer associations or networks that are out there. And then a different set of keywords we want to maybe filter down by a certain location that they're at. So like what's everything maybe in, well, maybe not Flagstaff, maybe in another part of New Mexico, maybe Las Cruces. Okay, that's not appearing. So you can filter down by those different keywords, industry focuses, and then types of organizations as well. So that's really one helpful way to be able to go through and see. So let's say we want to go on one, let's click Native Women Lead. So what you can do is when you click on an actual organizational profile, there'll be a bunch of information that we're able to gather. So you'll be able to see, for example, what that organization is, the logo, the short description, long description we were able to provide. If we're able to find the contact information, you can actually send messages back and forth on the platform. We actually had that in the past. We found people didn't want yet another thing they have to check for messages. So instead it'll go directly to your email. But what we're really trying to do is just direct people to the sources of all these different sites, because really we're meant to be stewards of this platform and help people get connected to the right resources, but we're never going to know the information about your ecosystem better than you do, because you're a part of it and I'm not. So what we want to do is just help be able to point people in the right direction through these keywords and to the site. So for example, if you wanted to go through here and see maybe what are different organizations that, for example, are Indigenous or Native led as an ownership characteristic, you can use that same type of keyword technology, go through the site and see, for example, here are all the different platforms on this site that have that identification, or all the different organizations on the site that have that organization. So another cool thing I do want to show is this idea of lists. So for example, I created a few lists, one of them being near and dear to my heart, which is scholarships, because scholarship opportunities are how I was able to attend college. And I noticed there's a lot of really cool opportunities that you have on your platform as well. So anyone can create lists of things that's based on their own interest of what they want to be able to promote, or what they want to organize into one either public or private list, and this one is public. So for example, I gathered different organizations that provide scholarships and then those actual opportunities themselves. And one of the cool things you can do here through filtering is trying to see, it doesn't here, but you can see, for example, the scholarships that have dates attached to them. So you can see if there's upcoming deadlines, like there's a lot of them in the next few months that you want to make sure you can apply to those or send those to students that you know that are interested in getting scholarship opportunities. So the same type of tech can apply to grant opportunities, to your own favorite businesses that you might want to share, your own favorite organizations. It's again meant to be very, very personalized. One question that I've heard people have is, how do you get more involved? And for example, let's say you are one of the people that are in our platform already and you already made an account and you're interested in claiming an organization. You can do that. So for example, if you wanted to go and looks like we already have 23 people that have accounts here, some of our Ecomap team, some of the Roanhorse team, but let's say, for example, you wanted to, you see your organization as a service provider on here, let's say, pick Ecomap. So let's say, for example, you are the founder of this organization. Maybe you are in the chat right now. Instead of manage organization, you'll see a button that says claim organization. I only see this because I'm signed in as an admin right now. But if you go onto the organizational profile, you'll have an opportunity to hit claim. And then all you'll have to do is put in some information about either like LinkedIn or just a message to the Roanhorse team saying, hey, this is my organization. You can verify it how you want to verify it. And then you'll actually be able to edit this information on your own. Because again, we are able to collect this information, but we also know that sometimes information, it's not always living online. It's helpful when it does, but that's not always how information travels. So we want to make sure people, if there's things that aren't captured on their own website, or if they wanted to add things specific for this platform, they can go in, either change the information that we found, or they can go in and add people to help manage the organization, say who other groups that they're associated with are, or resources that they provide. And then importantly, those keywords that people can use to filter by and understand kind of who they are and what they do. Another interesting thing that people can do is actually add more to this database. So this is a starting database and the starting list of the ecosystem members, but it's by no means finite or something that can't be added to. So actually encourage people if they have their own organization that's not there, they can do it. So we're Baltimore based, and I was looking to see what are different Baltimore based organizations that might be relevant for this Ecomap. So what you can actually do, you'll see this under resources and organizations, is this add organization or add resource button. So we make it really easy to add your own, where let's say you wanted to add something in Baltimore, and I won't actually do this because that's not directly a part of your ecosystem, but if it's not there, what you can do is add your own. And if you add the URL up here, what it'll do is it'll auto-populate with as much information as we can pull. So the name, a description, a logo, and then you can say whether you're a resource provider or maybe a venture or service provider, add information about a contact email and the organization itself. And then similar as before, you'll get to kind of help fill out different parts of your organization in terms of the resources that you might be providing or supporting, any industries that you work within, type of organization that you identify as, and then you can add your organization to this Ecomap. So that way it's meant to be this living directory that is not just a snapshot in one point in time, but it can really evolve with the community as the ecosystem does evolve too. So I'll take a break there because I know there might be some questions and I want to answer the specifics that people have, but I hope this was at least a helpful overview of what this tool can do and support the ecosystem that you're looking to grow.
Cool. Thank you, Kevin. We have a couple of questions in the chat. And some of them I feel like I could answer, but I'll just go ahead and let you answer. But Deanna asks, is this available to anyone, or do you have to sign up to actually access the information?
That's a great question. And it's tough to do a demo. So I'm signed in as an admin, so you won't see what it looks like if I'm not, but anyone can go right now to centernative.com and check it out. It'll look slightly different. What I can even do, how can I easily sign out here? Actually, I should know that, but there we go, log out. I'll show you what it looks like. So when you're logged out, you'll see it looks pretty much the same. So it'll say sign up or log in, but this will actually be a good indicator of, I can show you that claim an organization button, but you can see there's nothing gated. You don't need an account to filter through things, to view organizations. But let's say you did, for example, you notice your own organization is on there and then you want to sign up. Here's that claim organization button that I was telling you existed. And then what you can do is hit the start claim request, and it'll actually ask you to sign in because that's how we'll be able to verify it. But once you go in, you can put your name, verify your relationship and some kind of details there. And then it'll be sent to the admins, which would be the Roanhorse team, to help approve that or not. But by no means you need to have an account, because we know we want to make information accessible, and putting everything behind a login wall doesn't make things accessible.
Great. That answers Cecilia's question about adding themselves to an organization. So it's just basically claiming the account, correct?
Yep. Or when you make your own profile. So for example, you can sign in a bunch of different ways. You can have just put an email and password, or you can sign in, like I use my Google account, for example. So you can sign in that way and it'll already populate a lot. Oh, weird. But then, yeah, so it'll ask you when you're signing up, like, basically, do you belong to any of these organizations? Or you're a verified user, and then that'll again trigger a request to the admin to like actually approve that. So we don't want people signing up and saying, yes, I run this organization, and they have no affiliation to it whatsoever. So we put that back in your hands to decide.
Cool. And then another question, I'm not too sure if this is like more specific to organization page or like Center Native altogether, but it says how often will it be updated? So maybe like both, or yeah, just your insight on that.
Yeah, good question. So as of now, we update things on a monthly basis, and we're working to get even quicker than that. At a high level, what we do is we're able to track this online information that we pull the data from, and then we run our update detecting algorithm. So we can see, for example, did anything on the web page change over that past month in like a salient or meaningful way? And if it has, we can go, and this is how we'll be able to track how we'll be able to track new dates, or if there's a broken link, we can go in and fix it. But if you have your own organization claimed, you can update it at any time. And same with any administrator of the platform. They have their own data portal on the back end. They can make these changes too. But we do track for especially those things that are most likely to change more, which are like the funding opportunities, scholarships, the anything that might have a deadline. We know that's important to keep up to date. So that way, for example, if you come and to the resources tab here, and let's say you wanted to sort by things that have a deadline, you can see, for example, a lot of them are the scholarship opportunities in addition to this one that I believe you just announced earlier today for REA. So that's these are the different things that have upcoming dates and deadlines, and that will change on a monthly basis.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Kevin. Really appreciate you giving the insight of Center Native and really just taking time out of your day to be here with us as we've fully launched Center Native. And I know we'll have more conversations to come, but I just wanted to thank you for that. And then I think I'm going to pass it back on to Shauna now. But with any other questions, we'll go ahead and circle back with you, Kevin, on those.
Just
Please
really
do.
quick,
Feel free to share an email with anyone.
really quick, this platform, if you wanted to work directly with Ecomap for your own, you're welcome to. If we want to expand this nationally, that's a conversation to be had of this existing one. So don't want to gatekeep, call Kevin if you want to get something started in your communities, but at the same time, we're also excited to even consider and foster that conversation to expansion.
I really appreciate that. We just want to make sure this one's a success too as we roll it out. So thank you so much.
Then also with Center Native, we did have our native-led org map connected to Instagram. And so we're also looking to revamp our social media platforms. And this is just really where we'll be posting things about Center Native, but then also keeping the interaction with our followers, because most of our followers are from Navajo, and they're part of different organizations, and we definitely want to continue to just shine light of what's happening here in New Mexico. And so that's our Instagram page, and we're looking to continue to revamp some of our social media handles. Then the next slide.
All right, our favorite part of this presentation is giveaways. So we'd like to thank you all for being here with us for our launch of Center Native. And one way we'd like to say thank you to you all for supporting not only Center Native, but Roanhorse Consulting is by, again, these giveaways. So I took all your names down and placed them into our wheel. And unfortunately, I cannot share my wheel at the time. But the first person that we landed on was Sarah Keller. You just won a $50 gift card to Insurgents. Sarah Keller. And Sarah, if you can do us a quick favor and drop your email into the chat, we greatly appreciate that, so we can go ahead and send you your gift card.
Thank you, and congratulations, y'all. This is incredible.
Perfect. Thank you so much as well. All right, so next gift, we have another $50 gift card to Spirit Mountain Roasting Company. And this is going to Kurt Mearns. Did I say that correctly? Kurt Mearns?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you, Kurt. And if you can also do me a huge favor and drop your email into the chat, totally appreciate it.
Well, I'm just so excited to see what you've all produced here. This is beautiful.
Yes, and it'll continue to be produced out. So look forward for more emails from us. Let's see, we got another $50 gift card coming to, let's see. Oop. Jessica Osberg. Did I say that correctly? Jessica?
Thank you, Shauna. It's Jessica Osenbruga. Thank you. That's really wonderful. And I've been following on my other laptop and I'm going through centernative.com right now. It's wonderful. Thank you.
Awesome. No problem. And if you can go ahead and drop your email into the chat, your $50 gift card to Beyond Buckskin will be sent to you. All right. And we have a last $50 gift card, which is going to Sam Phillips. Sam Phillips, if you can do us a huge favor and drop your email into the chat, this is a $50 gift card for 8th Generation. Awesome. So that is it for our giveaways. Justine, if you can go ahead and move us to the next slide.
Whew. Thanks to everybody. So this is me to send a closing for everyone, but I just want to shout out to the RCLC team for all of the hours of conversations, data mining, data reviewing, data cleaning, and the back and continued partnership with Ecomap. It's taken a while to get here, but we're here. As you saw, we started from the bottom. Now we're driving a tiny little Mini Cooper, I think, or smart car. So that feels pretty good. Our calls to action to all of you and to your networks and everyone that you're in partnership with that you think could have value or find value in this, please share. The more of us here, the better. It's more rich, it's more meaningful. Please create a profile and find a partner. Tell us your stories. Please do reach out, info@Roanhorse Consulting. We'd love to hear what's happening. Obviously, check out the opportunities, scholarships, funding opportunities. If you're seeking a resource, that was the primary reason we created this in the beginning, was to sort of demystify what was out there. So please do it. And if you have funding opportunities or things that you want to share with the community, please create a profile and upload it. Lastly, we have that whole thing to create our own lists, things that might mean something to us. And again, as a reminder, an ecosystem is great, but if they're not talking to each other and we don't find a community of value in it, then it's still just a siloed ecosystem. So let's make some lists together and make it work for us. And so just big applause to the team, and thank you all continually to trust us and join us and enjoy the giveaways. For any information about this presentation, please reach out to Shauna, thanks Shauna for being our co-pilot today. And yeah.